Sarah Chen stared at the small package sitting on her desk, its weathered surface telling stories of countless rejected deliveries. The manifest glowed softly on her holodisplay. Destination: the Sentinel. Duration in transit: 327 standard years. She ran her fingers across the ancient preservation field, keeping the package intact, marveling at how something so small could have such an extensive delivery history. "Look, I know it's your first week as a contractor for Interstellar Express." Her supervisor's hologram flickered apologetically. "But nobody else will take it. 17,000 couriers have refused this run." Sarah leaned back in her chair aboard the cramped delivery station orbiting Proxima VI. The package was smaller than a bread box, its surface covered in warning labels in at least 30 different languages. Some she recognized. "Approach with peaceful intent." Others were in scripts so ancient they'd been dead longer than Earth had spaceflight. "What's the catch, Mr. Rodriguez?" "There's always a catch with the packages nobody wants." Her supervisor's hologram shifted uncomfortably. "The destination is complicated. The Sentinel is an alien fortress that's never been breached. 7,000 years of attempted military expeditions, archaeological surveys, and corporate espionage missions, all failures. The entire planet is surrounded by a graveyard of ships that tried to force their way in." Sarah picked up the package, surprised by its lightness. "And you want me, a rookie courier, to deliver there?" "Want? No, but regulations state we have to keep trying until it's delivered. Most couriers delete the assignment the moment they see the destination. You're the first to even listen to the briefing in 50 years. Sarah studied the manifest closer. The package's journey was a timeline of failure. The greatest military forces in known space had tried to claim the fortress world, and the debris field proved their fate. Yet here was this package, passing from courier to courier across centuries, waiting for delivery. "What's the pay?" She tried to sound casual, but her heart was already racing with curiosity. "Standard rate, plus hazard pay, plus..." Rodriguez coughed. "Plus the accumulated delivery bonuses from all previous attempts. It's substantial." Sarah whistled as the number appeared on her screen. It was enough to buy a small moon. Why hasn't anyone just dropped it from orbit? Automated defenses, very robust ones. The only approved approach vector is directly to the surface landing pad, which, I should mention, is right in front of the main fortress entrance. Sarah turned the package over in her hands. Unlike the dramatic military expeditions or secret corporate missions, this was just a delivery. Simple, straightforward. The kind of thing she'd done thousands of times on Earth before getting her interstellar courier license. "I'll take it." Rodriguez's hologram flickered in surprise. "You'll? What?" "Sarah, listen, I know the money's good, but there's a reason. File the paperwork, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm delivering this package." The supervisor's image sputtered. "I have to formally warn you that Interstellar Express takes no responsibility for..." "Noted. Sending acceptance now." Sarah's finger tapped the confirmation button before he could finish. The package was officially her responsibility. 3 days later, her small courier vessel dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Sentinel system. The star was ancient, a dying red giant that painted the void in crimson hues. And there, orbiting at the precise distance to maintain liquid water, was the fortress world. Sarah's breath caught as her sensors painted a picture of the debris field. The wreckage of 7 millennia of failed attempts created a sparse ring around the planet. Capital ships, dreadnoughts, stealth vessels, and countless smaller craft, all reduced to twisted metal and frozen monuments to hubris. Her courier ship was different. Small, unassuming, with clear markings identifying it as a civilian delivery vessel. As she approached the defense perimeter, her sensors registered hundreds of automated weapons platforms tracking her movement, yet none fired. The planet's surface came into view as she began atmospheric entry. The fortress dominated an entire continent, a structure of impossible scale built by hands that had turned to dust ages ago. Its walls, black as space itself, rose kilometers into the sky. Energy fields shimmed between massive towers, and ancient symbols pulsed with internal light across its surface. Sarah's hands were steady on the controls as she lined up with the landing pad. The massive fortress entrance loomed before her, large enough to swallow her ship whole. The pad was immaculate, despite millennia of disuse, as if waiting patiently for this moment. As the landing struts touched down, Sarah completed her standard delivery checklist. Preservation field stable. Package secure. Manifest updated. She pulled on her atmosphere suit. The planet's air was technically breathable, but hadn't felt human lungs in thousands of years. At the cargo door, she paused. Armies had died trying to breach this place. Corporations had gone bankrupt attempting to steal its secrets, and here she was, a rookie courier with a small package, about to walk right up to the front door. Sarah stepped onto the landing pad, package in hand. The fortress rose before her like a mountain of technology and mystery. Her suit sensors picked up energy readings that defied classification, and the very air seemed to hum with power. But Sarah wasn't here to solve the mystery or claim the prize. She had a job to do, something simple and straightforward that somehow no one in 3 centuries had managed to complete. She was here to make a delivery. The massive entrance doors were etched with symbols that shifted and changed as she watched. Near the bottom, almost an afterthought, was a small panel that would have been easy to miss if you were planning an invasion instead of a delivery. Sarah took a deep breath and did what no military commander, corporate spy, or archaeological expert had thought to do in 7,000 years. She rang the doorbell. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Sarah stood there, package tucked under her arm, feeling increasingly foolish. The massive fortress walls continued their subtle pulse of energy, and the dying sun cast long shadows across the landing pad. Maybe the doorbell was just decorative, a cosmic joke left by the builders. The ground trembled. Not the violent shake of weapons fire or explosions that had claimed so many lives in this place, but a gentle vibration, like an ancient machine awakening. The symbols on the door shifted, rearranging themselves until they formed perfectly legible Standard Galactic. "Welcome, courier. Please state the nature of your delivery." Sarah cleared her throat, suddenly aware she might be the first person to have a conversation with this place in millennia. "Interstellar Express. Priority package for." She checked the manifest. "The custodian of records." The door's symbols swirled again. "Package authentication required." She held up the small box, and a soft blue light swept over it. The preservation field shimmed, but held firm. For a moment, nothing happened, and Sarah wondered if she'd failed some ancient security protocol. Then the massive doors began to part. They moved silently, despite their enormous size. No grinding of ancient gears or screech of protesting metal, just the graceful separation of 2 surfaces that might have been waiting centuries for this exact moment. The entrance hall beyond was illuminated by the same soft light that pulsed through the fortress's exterior. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters overhead, and the walls were lined with what looked like liquid metal, flowing in complex patterns that drew the eye. "Please proceed to the central chamber," the voice said, now emanating from within. "Follow the guide lights." A path of gentle blue illumination appeared on the floor. Sarah took a deep breath and stepped inside. The doors closed behind her with the same silent precision with which they'd opened. "So," she said to the empty air as she walked, her footsteps echoing in the vast space, "I don't suppose you'd tell me why this package took 3 centuries to deliver." "The package was not ready for delivery until now," the voice replied. "Previous attempts were premature." Sarah rounded a corner, following the light path. "Premature. There are thousands of wrecked ships up there that suggest otherwise. Those vessels did not attempt delivery. They attempted conquest. There is a significant difference." The path led her into a vast circular chamber. The walls were covered in what appeared to be screens showing star maps, scientific formulae, and streams of data in languages she'd never seen. At the center stood a simple pedestal. "Place the package on the verification platform." the voice instructed. Sarah approached the pedestal. You know, most deliveries don't involve this much conversation with the destination. Most deliveries are not the culmination of a 7,000-year wait. She placed the package on the pedestal. The preservation field flickered and died, its centuries-long task complete. The package began to open itself, unfolding like a flower blooming in fast motion. Inside was a crystal, no larger than her thumb. It glowed with an inner light that seemed to shift between every color she could name and several she couldn't. Package verified, the voice said. Courier Sarah Chen, you have successfully completed the first stage of delivery to the Sentinel. Sarah blinked. First stage. The manifest didn't mention multiple stages. The manifest could not mention what it did not know. You have demonstrated the first required quality, respect for proper procedures. Now we must determine if you possess the second, wisdom in the face of choice. The chamber's lights dimmed, and a crystal rose from its container, floating at eye level. As it rotated, Sarah saw images within its facets. Stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, knowledge that made her head spin. What you see is the accumulated knowledge of the predecessor race, the voice explained. Scientific understanding that would advance your species by millennia. Cultural insights that would transform your society. And weapons technology that would make your most powerful armaments seem like children's toys. Sarah watched the crystal spin. Why show me this? I'm just here to deliver a package. Because now you must make a choice. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. The crystal can only be claimed by one who understands its true purpose. You can attempt to take it. Many have tried. All have failed. You can leave it and let another make this choice. Or you can ask why a race advanced enough to build this fortress would wait 7,000 years for a delivery person who knew to ring a doorbell. Sarah looked at the crystal, then at the pedestal, then at the vast chamber around her. She thought about the military forces that had tried to take this place by force, the corporations that had tried to steal its secrets, the archaeologists who had tried to unravel its mystery. And then she thought about the simple panel by the door, with its humble request for courtesy. I have a few questions, she said carefully, about proper delivery procedures for items of historical significance. The chamber's lights brightened slightly, and Sarah could have sworn she heard approval in the voice's tone as it replied. Finally, someone who understands the importance of reading the instructions. The air in the chamber shifted, taking on a subtle floral scent that Sarah's suit sensors identified as completely alien yet somehow perfectly safe. A section of the flowing wall patterns parted, and through it stepped a being that defied her understanding of physical form. It moved like liquid mercury, but held a humanoid shape, its surface reflecting the chamber's lights in constantly shifting patterns. Where a face might be, symbols similar to those on the fortress wall swirled in complex formations. I am the curator, it said, its voice the same as the fortress's but now coming from a definite source. The last of those you would call the predecessors, though that term is imprecise. We were not predecessors to your species, merely early arrivers to this galaxy's great conversation. Sarah found herself relaxing despite the strangeness of the situation. Something about the being's presence felt familiar, like talking to a favorite librarian. Your delivery, the curator gestured to the floating crystal, is more than just data. It is a key, but not in the way your military strategists theorized. Tell me, Courier Chen, why do you think we chose to make this a delivery rather than simply sharing our knowledge freely? Sarah thought about it. Because you wanted to see who would think to knock. The curator's surface rippled in what might have been amusement. Partially. The method of entry was a filter, yes, but the true test was the journey itself. 3 centuries of failed deliveries, each teaching us something about the species attempting it. The beam moved to one of the wall displays, and images began to appear, recordings of previous delivery attempts. Sarah saw ships of various designs trying to forcibly land, others attempting to breach the fortress's defenses, some even trying to destroy it. Each failure was instructive, the curator continued. The military approaches showed us fear disguised as strength. The corporate infiltrations revealed greed masked as progress. The academic expeditions demonstrated curiosity corrupted by ambition. And my approach, Sarah asked, showed us something we had waited 7 millennia to confirm, that your species has evolved beyond merely surviving to understanding the importance of civil interaction. You treated this fortress not as a target to be conquered, but as a destination to be respected. The crystal pulsed brighter, and new images appeared in its facets, scenes of daily life from the predecessor civilization. Sarah saw impossible cities, technologies that seemed to break fundamental laws of physics, and achievements that made humanity's greatest accomplishments look primitive. But the curator's form dimmed slightly. We face a problem. The fortress's power core is failing. In approximately 6 hours, the containment fields will collapse, and with them, the sum total of our civilization's knowledge will be lost forever. Sarah frowned. Can't you just move it somewhere else? The crystal is synchronized with the fortress's systems. Moving it without proper preparation would corrupt the data beyond recovery. We have maintenance protocols, but they require a minimum of 2 operators. I am the last, and cannot perform them alone. So that's why you needed the delivery. You're looking for help. The curator's surface patterns became more complex. Yes and no. We needed to find a species advanced enough to understand our knowledge, but wise enough not to misuse it. The delivery protocol was designed to identify candidates who could demonstrate both technological capability and social development. Sarah looked at the crystal again. But I'm just a courier. I don't have the expertise to help maintain something like this. You misunderstand, the curator said gently. We don't need your technical expertise. We need your species' perspective, your understanding of connection, of service, of putting others' needs alongside your own. These are traits we lost in our pursuit of advancement, lessons we learned too late. The chamber's lights pulsed in a warning pattern. However, time grows short. The maintenance protocols are dangerous. Attempting them could be fatal to organic life forms. You could take the crystal and leave. It would survive long enough to be studied, though much would be lost. Or you could depart with nothing, letting our civilization's legacy fade with dignity. Sarah walked around the pedestal, thinking. Those aren't the only options, are they? You wouldn't have waited this long just to present a no-win scenario. The curator's form brightened. What makes you say that? Because this whole setup, the doorbell, the delivery protocol, waiting for someone to simply ask permission, it's all about finding better solutions than force or surrender. So there has to be another way. She faced the ancient being directly. Tell me about these maintenance protocols. Not the technical details. Tell me what they're trying to accomplish. Maybe we can find a third option. The curator's surface erupted in patterns that seemed almost joyful. And that, Courier Chen, is precisely why the package chose this moment to let itself be delivered. Around them, the fortress hummed with new energy as wall panels shifted to reveal equipment Sarah had never seen before. But more importantly, they revealed something that had been hidden for millennia. The truth about why the predecessors had really built this place, and what they hoped humanity would help them achieve. It wasn't about the crystal at all. It was about what came next. Sarah studied the maintenance equipment the fortress had revealed. The devices were elegant, clearly designed for beings like the curator rather than human hands. But something about their arrangement tickled her professional instincts. This setup, she gestured at the equipment. It reminds me of something. The curator waited patiently as she walked around the chamber, her courier's mind cataloging the layout. Then it hit her. It's a relay station, like the ones we use for package routing in busy systems. She turned to the curator. Your maintenance protocols, they're not about fixing machinery, are they? They're about transferring data. Correct. The curator's surface rippled. The fortress's systems must be synchronized precisely. Traditionally, two of my kind would form a connection to ensure perfect data flow. But alone. You can't be in two places at once. Sarah finished. But what if you don't need to be? She pulled out her courier's datapad, the standard tool of her trade. Every interstellar express courier carries emergency routing protocols. They're designed to preserve package integrity during crisis transfers. She looked up at the ancient being. Your civilization built this fortress to last 7 millennia. Ours built tools to make sure packages arrive safely even if the ship is breaking apart. The curator moved closer, studying the simple device. Your transfer protocols are primitive compared to our technology. Exactly. Sarah grinned. They're so basic they might just be compatible with anything. We designed them that way because we never know what kind of cargo we'll need to handle. She approached one of the maintenance stations. Your systems are failing because they're too perfect. Every component has to be in exact synchronization. But our shipping networks handle millions of packages through thousands of relay points with different technologies every day. We don't need perfection. We just need enough stability to get the job done. The curator's patterns shifted rapidly. You suggest using your primitive technology as a bridge between our advanced systems. The power differentials alone would be nothing compared to what these pads handle during solar storms. Sarah was already connecting her device to the nearest port. We build these things to survive anything. They're not elegant, but they work. Warning lights flashed across the chamber as another power fluctuation hit. They had less than an hour now. Even if this works, the curator said, coordinating the transfer would require precise timing between multiple points. Without a second operator. You have a second operator. Sarah pulled out her spare pad. I've handled 3-point urgent transfers during meteor showers. This is just another delivery challenge. The curator's form wavered. The energy involved. It could be fatal to your organic systems. Then it's a good thing I'm wearing a courier's environment suit. Sarah tapped the reinforced material. Rated for everything from vacuum exposure to radiation bursts. Like I said, we build our tools to survive anything. She finished connecting the pads to the fortress's systems. The simple devices seemed absurdly inadequate next to the advanced alien technology, but they powered up normally. Okay, Sarah took position at one of the stations. Here's how this works. You initiate the transfer sequence from your end. My pads will act as emergency backup nodes, maintaining data flow stability even if the main systems fluctuate. They won't be perfect, but they don't need to be. They just need to keep the connection alive long enough for the transfer to complete. The curator moved to the primary station, its form elongating to connect with multiple interfaces simultaneously. You understand that if this fails, the feedback could destroy both the crystal's data and your consciousness. Sarah checked her suit's seals one last time. Part of being a courier is accepting that every delivery carries risks. Besides, she smiled behind her faceplate. My supervisor would never let me hear the end of it if I failed to complete this delivery. The chamber's lights dimmed as power was diverted to the transfer systems. The crystal rose higher, its glow intensifying until it illuminated the entire space. Ready when you are, Sarah said, hands poised over her pad's controls. The curator's form began to pulse with internal light. Beginning transfer sequence in 3, 2, 1. Energy surged through the chamber. Sarah's pads lit up like miniature suns as they processed data flows that should have burned out their circuits instantly. But they held, their simple, robust design doing exactly what it was meant to do, keeping things moving when everything else failed. Sarah's suit sensors screamed warnings as radiation levels soared. She ignored them, focusing on maintaining the connection. Her fingers flew over the controls, compensating for power surges, rerouting data flows around failing nodes, keeping the transfer stable through sheer human stubbornness. The crystal's light became blinding, its facets showing not just stored data now but live images, the transfer in progress, centuries of knowledge flowing through channels built to handle package tracking information. And through it all, the fortress held, its ancient systems accepting help from technology countless generations behind its own, because in the end, the principles were the same, moving something precious from point A to point B, safely and securely. Just another delivery. The chamber erupted in light, and for a moment, Sarah thought she had failed. But when her vision cleared, she saw the curator's form glowing with renewed energy, the crystal's light now steady and strong. Transfer complete, the fortress announced. All systems stabilizing. Power core regeneration sequence initiated. Sarah checked her pads. They were scorched and smoking, but they had done their job. Package delivered, she said, and laughed. Want to sign for it? The curator's form shifted into something that could only be described as a smile. You have done more than deliver a package, Sarah Chen. You have taught us something we had forgotten in all our advancement. What's that? That sometimes the simplest solutions are the most elegant, and that true wisdom lies not in having the most advanced tools, but in understanding how to use what you have to help others. Around them, the fortress hummed with renewed life, its systems no longer failing but transformed, integrated with the very human principle that perfection was less important than perseverance. And Sarah Chin, courier third class, had the feeling her delivery route was about to get a lot more interesting. 3 months after the successful transfer, Sarah's courier ship approached the Sentinel again. This time, there was no debris field. The fortress's automated systems had finally begun cleaning up the ancient wreckage, transforming it into raw materials for something new. The landing pad had expanded into a proper spaceport, with ships from dozens of species docked in neat rows. Each bore the same marking, a simple circle with a doorbell icon inside it, the universal symbol for peaceful delivery. Welcome back, Courier Chen. The fortress's voice greeted her as she landed. Your timing is excellent. The first knowledge transfer ceremony is about to begin. Sarah stepped out of her ship, no longer needing an environment suit. The fortress's atmosphere had been adjusted to accommodate multiple species, another change that would have been impossible before the systems were stabilized. The curator met her in the main chamber, its mercury-like form now streaked with patterns that mimicked her courier uniform's stripes. The integration of your delivery protocols has exceeded all projections, it said as they walked. By accepting imperfect but stable connections, we can now share our knowledge safely with any species that demonstrates proper respect for the process. The chamber had transformed. Where once there was a single pedestal, now there were dozens of transfer stations, each designed to interface with different species technology. And at each one, there was a small panel with a simple request. Please knock before entering. The military fleets arrived 2 weeks after your first delivery, the curator said, leading her to a new section of the fortress. They expected to find the defenses weakened by the power core crisis. Instead, they found something unprecedented. The wall displayed footage of the confrontation. Massive warships positioning for attack, only to be met not with weapon fire, but with a delivery confirmation request. It had taken the fleet commanders several hours to realize that the fortress's legendary defenses weren't even active anymore. They didn't need to be. We gave them a choice. The curator's patterns shifted in what Sarah now recognized as amusement. They could either sign for proper delivery of knowledge packages, or they could explain to their superiors why they were refusing free access to the most advanced scientific database in known space. Sarah laughed. Let me guess, they filled out the forms. Every single one. Though some needed help understanding why they couldn't just shoot the submit button. They reached a new chamber, one Sarah hadn't seen before. Inside, representatives from various species sat at workstations, each interfacing with the fortress's systems through adapted versions of her courier pad's protocols. We call this the delivery hub, the curator said. From here, we coordinate knowledge transfers throughout the galaxy. Each recipient species adds their own understanding to the database, creating something greater than what any single civilization could achieve alone. Sarah watched as a furry, 6-limbed being helped a crystalline entity fill out transfer forms, while a cloud of sentient gas patiently explained routing protocols to what appeared to be a sapient plant. The funny thing is, she said, none of this technology is actually new. We've been using these delivery systems for centuries. We just never thought they were important enough to show off. That was precisely why they were perfect. The curator's form rippled. Your species learned something it took us 7,000 years to understand. That true advancement isn't about creating the most sophisticated solution, but about finding ways to help everyone participate. A soft chime sounded through the chamber. Ah, the curator said, "The ceremony is beginning. Will you do the honors?" Sarah approached the central platform, where representatives from 50 different species waited. Each held a data crystal similar to the one she had delivered, but containing their own civilization's contributions to the growing database. She took her position at the primary transfer station, still using her standard-issue courier pad, though now reinforced with some subtle improvements, and cleared her throat. "Welcome to the Sentinel's first galactic knowledge exchange. Before we begin the transfer protocols, I need to confirm, has everyone filled out their delivery acceptance forms?" A chorus of affirmative responses in various languages. "Excellent." Sarah smiled. "Then on behalf of Interstellar Express and the Sentinel Delivery Hub, I'm pleased to inform you that your shared knowledge packages are cleared for processing. Expected delivery time is 15 minutes. Would anyone like to purchase additional tracking services?" The joke, translated across 50 different communication systems, prompted a wave of multi-species laughter. As Sarah began initiating the transfer sequences, she caught the curator's eye and received the alien equivalent of a wink. Above them, the fortress's ancient symbols had rearranged themselves into a new message, one that would become famous throughout explored space. "The greatest knowledge is knowing when to knock. The greatest wisdom is knowing when to open the door. And the greatest achievement is finding ways to help others do both." Sarah Chen, once a rookie courier who took a job no one else wanted, nodded in satisfaction and did what she did best. She made sure everyone's package arrived safely. After all, that's what delivery people do.